Hi everyone, it's Yana here. Today I'm going to show you how to edit this image into something like this. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lens correction and choose Pentax. Click OK. Then I'm going to go filter, camera raw filter. And lower my whites. I merge my layers together. Now I'm creating a new layer, going to Liquify. And here I'm going to change a little bit her body shape, a little bit of the hair, just to make it look more natural, more nicer. Nothing too dramatic, just a little bit of a change. It's not something that's going to change her body or something like that. Also, I will fix some things at the background as well, just zooming in and out to see if all things looks good. So this is before and after. I merged my layers together again, then I created a new layer. I'm going to take my patch tool and replace some spots on a skin to smooth it out and get rid of some of the blemishes. The selections have to be more closer to the area that you're going to be replacing, so that it won't be so noticeable, but just keeping the structures and the shadows and the tones of the skin close to natural as possible. Then I'm going to take my spot healing brush and remove some of the smallest blemishes. I'll do some on the arms as well. Then I merge my layers again and create a new layer. Then on a new layer I'm going to take again my spot healing brush and remove some of the hair at the background. And if some of the areas at the background get affected by using spot healing brush, then I will change it to my patch brush and I will just replace one of those areas to be looking more realistic and natural. For this particular spot here, I will be using my stamp tool as it is more easier and it will do a better coverage. Now we will remove some of the things that looks disturbing to the eyes. It can be more things if you want to move more in your images, but for this particular one, I will just remove a little bit. Then I will go to camera raw filter and brighten my shadows and lower my highlights. Also, I will increase my temperature tone, just maybe a little bit highlight the shadows more, add a little bit of contrast. So now you can see the difference. Then I will go to my burn tool and I will just darken a little bit the bottom of my image so that my model would stand out even more. So for the skin retouching, I would be using one of my actions, and the first action I would be using is called warm tone. This will be used for the skin in particular. So you need to make sure that you are clicking on a mask, choosing a soft brush, and you're choosing a white color to paint on. So this action helps actually to brighten the skin and give it some nice natural sunny color tone, which I really like for this image. As you can see, it makes much of a difference. So I lower my opacity a little bit. And now I'm going to go to my skin retouching brushes and I'm going to choose natural. So with this action, I actually can give some softness and smoothness to my skin. So again, make sure that your mask is selected and you're using a soft brush with the hardness all the way down to 0 and you are on a white color. Just make sure not to go over the eyes or over the lips, as we don't want to smooth particularly these areas but just the skin. As you can see, it's a little bit strong, so I'm going to lower my opacity to the number where it looks more realistic. So here I will stop at 41%. So now I'm going to work on the eyes. I'm going to go to one of my other actions that's going to be applied to the iris of her eyes, and click play. So for this action as well, we'll be working the same techniques. You have to choose the mask and then soft brush and paint with the white color. And I will lower my opacity here down to 16%. Now I'm going to do the same to the whites of her eyes. And again, I'm going to lower my opacity to around 20%. Next, I'm going to go to hair adjustment and choose sharpness, contrast, and shine. I do a little bit to the brows as well. And then play with the opacity amount to make it look more natural. Next, I'm going to Selective Color, choose yellows, and just change the tones of the image. You can play here with all the settings to see which works best for you. Then I will go to green as well and see what I can get out of this as well. So now I'm going to take a razor tool and just erase some of these yellowish tones and orange color out of her face and her arms, and also a little bit of the hair. Now we will go to Camera Raw filter, to saturation, and just play with the color tones here. I'll increase a little bit of my magenta. Then I will go to luminance and I will decrease a little bit my reds, increase a little bit of oranges, a little bit of blues, and maybe increase a little bit of purples and slightly magenta. Now I will take my quick selection tool and I'm going to select my model. You can use minus and plus to add some areas or remove some areas of your selection. Then I will go to blur gallery and I'm going to use field blur. So here you can play with the amount of the blur you want to add. I will stop at 22 and I'm going to add noise for around 16%. Since I was not using Refine Age for this selection that I've done earlier, I'm going to take my razor tool and lower it to 25% in opacity for a floor and opacity itself, and I'm going to brush off the edges of my model so it could blend better with the background. Also, I'm going to brush off the blur from the tree branch that I have here because it was hard to select it as it's blending with the color of the background. So here you can increase your opacity to remove it from the leaves and then decrease it again to do the edges. So now I'm going to do it all over the image. I don't want that really strong effect, but I just want to blur out a little bit the back of the image, especially where the dry leaves are on the floor, just to make my model to pop out more, you know, to stand out and be more visible. Also, I'm going to use now my blur brush and choose normal in a mode, and I will leave it up to 100% strength and just brush off the image where I want more blur to be added. Next, I'm going to go to filter, camera raw filter, and add a little bit of vignette. But I'm going to remove it from the top of the image because this is where the natural light comes on, and I just want to leave it that way. Now I'm going to add a little bit more shadows at the floor. As you can see, this makes my model pop out even more. Now I'm going to dodge and I'm going to choose mid-tones and add a little bit of the lights where the natural light was hitting her body, just to increase it a little bit more. So sometimes I like to increase the makeup effect that my model is wearing. So for this, I'm going to go to my Smoky Eyes action and I'm going to click on play. And then with the brush tool, I'm going to go around the eyes where she has the natural shadows. And I'm going to increase the color of it and also the shades. So as you can see, she has now more kind of like a smoky eye natural makeup on the top of what she already had. So now I'm going to add a little bit of highlights to her eyelids. And also I'm going to do a little bit of the contouring on her cheeks and a little bit to her jaw. So for this one, I'm going to lower my opacity again to keep it more to natural because I don't want to change the features of her face too much. And last but not least, I'm going to change the color tones of this picture to give it more kind of like a cinematic look, but with a little bit more of dusty blue colors. So once this action is played, you can go through all the layers of this action and play with the opacity mode. Also, you can maybe even close some of the layers or delete it if you don't need it, and just see what suits more your picture that you're working with. So for me here, I'm going to remove some of these bluish and greenish tones out of her skin because I want to keep it close to natural color. So I'm going to take my eraser tool and just lower my opacity to the percentage that I want to, and I'm going to erase it off from the areas of her skin where I don't need this effect to be. And then with the rest of the layers, I'm going to just play with the opacity percentage and see what suits my picture the most. So this is the before and after. I really like the way it comes out, so I will leave it at this point. Then I will go to layer, I will flatten my image. So now I'm going to go to my movable sun rays actions, and I'm going to choose bright yellow center glow. So with this slide, you can move it actually across the picture and place it where you want it to be, and then also lower the opacity to the effect that you want to have. So I'll probably place it in a corner of my right side of the picture, and I will lower my opacity down to 10. So one of the last steps I will do is increasing a little bit of the contrast. And then I will go to sharpen and sharp mask, and I will sharpen my image a little bit. So I will increase my amount of the sharpness and reduce my radius to about 2.6 pixels. So I constantly zoom into my image to see if I don't over sharpen it, just to be on a safe side. Next I will go to match color, and I will increase my luminance. This will give a little bit more brightness to my image. You can also lower the opacity if you think it's too much. To increase the effect of my movable sun ray that I added a little bit earlier, I go to my highlights and just click on some of the areas to make a little bit more light, like her hair, her shoulder, where I placed my movable sun ray. So this will give kind of look that the sun is shining more brighter to that side. And that would be my last step. So here is what we have before, and here is what we have now. I hope you like this tutorial. All the actions that I used and the brushes will be linked into description box below, where you can download it directly from my website. And yes, they're really easy to use, and I hope they will help you to speed up the process of your editing and create more beautiful images.